For the past 3,000 years, E3's been the second most exciting time of the year to be a gamer, aside from the holiday season, of course. Although, some would argue that while it's great to actually play the games that come out in November and December, the anticipation in June might actually be more fun. But despite the attendance at 2018's E3 convention being the highest since 2005, the purpose of having E3 at all is fading more and more with each passing year. After all, Sony decided to skip out on it altogether, and while Nintendo is still there, they gave up on the actual press conference years ago in favor of just doing a special direct instead, which they'd have probably just done without E3 anyway. But even though I don't see E3 going anywhere in the super near future, and while I personally prefer it stick around based solely on tradition alone, I can't honestly say that I think it's gonna last. Because I was originally trying to make this video about why I think the convention's gonna stick around for a long time to come, and believe me, besides tradition, I've got nothing. Why is a beloved event like E3 destined for death? Well, pause the video, climb the highest tree you can find so nobody can see what you're watching, resume playing, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the world's literal tallest man, Cameron, to tell you 5 reasons why E3 is gonna suffer the same fate as my last 2 marriages with my ex-wives Chili and Fanny. Number 5. High expectations. When people think about E3, they usually reminisce about some of the more explosive announcements from over the years, like the reveal of the Nintendo DS, the Wii, the video Sony made making fun of Microsoft's DRM policies, Microsoft rebounding by announcing backwards compatibility, the Final Fantasy VII remake that was released shortly thereafter, Mega Man and Smash Bros. Frig off it was a big deal to me, and who could ever forget the reveal of Time Cop 3 for the Sega Neptune? But even though there've been a lot of really big announcements over the years, it's just unrealistic to expect monumental surprises every year. And unfortunately, whenever an E3 presentation's anything less than incredible, fans everywhere shit all over it, causing stock prices to unfairly drop, regardless of whether or not the company recently announced a killer app for later in the year, or if they have something up their sleeves that they're not quite ready to show off yet. But even when there are big secrets to reveal, there's almost always the issue of... Number 4. Leaks. I've got no idea what the deal is, but it seems like every year there's more and more leaks right before E3 that ruin the biggest surprises. Most of these leaks are either due to retailers being careless with their inventory, or because they just accept pre-orders way too early. But regardless of where the leaks are coming from, I don't know why publishers haven't learned their lessons yet. I'm well aware that retailers need a heads up on future products, but do they really need to know 6 months ahead of time? Like, why don't publishers work things out with retail chains literally right after E3 instead of any time before it? I mean, what's a company like Circuit City gonna do if they don't find out about a game till after E3? Say no to carrying a game like Superman 65 and lose out on billions of dollars? Yeah, I don't think so. But not only are the real leaks a problem for shocking people, there's also the issue with all the fake leaks out there, which are way more abundant. And as if the expectations to deliver at E3 weren't high enough already, games being leaked that don't even exist make it impossible to please everybody. So even if you got a presentation that reveals like 20 must-own games coming out later in the year, people are still probably gonna boycott your company if you didn't deliver 21 like some ass river on Twitter claimed. And if it's impossible to keep secrets going into E3 anyway, then why not just reveal games before retailers even get a chance to leak them? But that really fits more into the next category, which would be... Number 3. E3 is inconvenient for publishers. When I think about how inconvenient E3 really is for the publishers, last year's Nintendo presentation in particular comes to mind, because rather than giving up on E3 altogether, N-Dog decided it'd still be a part of the tradition, albeit at a smaller scale. But rather than be commended for not completely sitting out, a lot of people jumped on their asses when all they were ready to show in the month of June was more details on Smash Ultimate, because that was a game that everybody already knew about. And I will admit that after all the Wii U ports and cardboard we had to sit through in the months prior, I was a little underwhelmed myself. But it didn't make me doubt for a second that Nintendo didn't have more in the pipeline for the future. And given that Nintendo stocks plummeted even more for giving us something than they would have if they gave us nothing, I honestly don't blame Sony for skipping out on the event one bit. And it really blows my mind that some people were frustrated with Nintendo for not having any directs in the first half of 2019 that revealed any big new games besides Mario Maker 2. Because not only is that game big enough to hold us over for the first half of the year, but even if Nintendo had a direct in May that set the world on fire, people would still expect them to top it at E3. And I'm sure the stocks would probably plummet again if they didn't, because shareholders could be really stupid sometimes. Plus, not only is it a hassle to avoid leaks and keep games a secret, but you also run the risk of botching things during a live presentation if you hold a traditional press conference, which I'm sure has got to be way more stressful than making a pre-recorded video. Because in a Nintendo Direct, you don't have to worry about games malfunctioning, nor do you have to worry about saying something stupid, going on for way too long, or having to deal with my neighbor Terry rushing the stage demanding a Pornhub app. FYI, if anyone from Microsoft's watching this, which I'm sure you are, make sure to tighten up security at all future events. But the bottom line is that while E3 did make a lot of sense before the internet was as easily accessible as it is now, it really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for big publishers to go by everybody else's schedule by making sure to either withhold information until June or rush projects that aren't quite ready to be seen yet. Number 2. It's expensive as hell. Don't get me wrong, E3 presentations are a lot of fun to watch, but they don't actually make games better, nor do they have any lasting impression once the event's all said and done. However, when relaying information via the internet's more convenient and effective than ever, it's probably a better idea to take the sometimes millions of dollars meant for the convention and instead use it for game development, advertising, or even just giving it to some guy on the street. I mean, that probably would get people talking, but what do I know? I'm just the world's tallest man. Haha, told ya. Number 1. The biggest announcements have to share the spotlight with others. This one might be a polarizing opinion, but if you're Microsoft and have a lot of new games to announce and you know Nintendo's gonna have a big direct plan for a certain day, would you really want to reveal any of these games so shortly before or after N-Dog made an impact? If you're certain you got gold on your hands, then maybe you would want to steal Nintendo's thunder. Otherwise, it's probably best not to run the risk of any of your games getting lost in the shuffle. After all, there's a reason why games aren't released the moment they're finished, but instead strategically rationed throughout the year so that nothing gets overlooked. And if you ask me, I've always thought it was weird for all these big companies to share the spotlight with each other at E3, especially now that they can announce whatever they want at any time they want and have everybody find out about it. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo wouldn't want to announce Super Mario 69 only for Sneak King 2 to be the main headline on all the websites. And now that Sony's doing things on their own watch, the PlayStation 5 is going to be able to get every media outlet's full attention, just like how Pokemon always drops a direct days before E3 and has all the buzz to itself. Which I think are both really smart moves that nobody seems to talk about. I know the argument could be made that not having anything to show at E3 makes you look like a chum, but I think it makes you look like more of a badass, like when Ricky Whitley shows up 10 minutes late to class every day. Although, Ricky Whitley isn't quite as badass as today's patrons of the day, John Polish Impossible to Say and the Vidya Bros. Or if you'd rather show support by picking a shirt or mug up, then send pictures or videos of you rocking it to make a cameo like these badasses right here. But what do you think about E3 fading away and classifying itself as obsolete? Do you think it's inevitable? Are you holding out hope that it'll find a way to stick around? Or do you actually want it to die? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to see more videos like this. And if you want to help this channel grow, then simply liking and sharing goes a long way. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.